Hi everyone, my name is Phil and welcome to PhilDoes3D. I'm a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream on Twitch weekdays from 5 PM Pacific time in the US, 12 PM in Australia and 1 AM in the UK. Let's pull up 3D Studio Max and load up our file from yesterday, which is the garden terrace. I think today we'll finish working on growing one more piece of ivy on that corner column and doing a bit of housekeeping work to make sure everything is named correctly so I can save out a finished version of the file. Before we take some of the textures into Gnarled to start creating some normal maps, and then we'll take it into View to do some rendering. I want to shout out a thank you to Akacia for following my Twitch channel yesterday. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I appreciate it every time you guys follow me on Twitch, so thank you. Remember guys, if anything I'm doing, if you've got any questions, feel free to pop into chat and ask me anything you don't understand. If you want to pop into chat and say hello, then I appreciate that. That's great too. If you just want to watch, then that's completely fine as well. Checking everything is turned on. Yes. Like I was saying yesterday, for some reason, since the Windows cumulative updates, it takes a lot longer to load files into Macs than it used to. But I'm not really sure why that is. It must be some security change that they made, I think, behind the scenes in Windows 10. Come on, Max. Thank you for the host, Galen. I always appreciate it when you host my channel. I'll have to try and do the same for you. You stream it around midnight my time. I'm usually in bed. But I must look into that. I really must. I did look into the links being blocked by your regular guys and fix that up, so it shouldn't be a problem now. But remember guys, I do have blocking of links turned on, so I only allow the regulars in my channel to post links to post links in chat. So you must tell me if you are planning on doing that if you're not a regular, because Nightbot will time you out. I'm always happy to look at any work that you guys are doing. If you want my opinion on anything that you're working on, it doesn't have to be 3D. It can be anything. I've done game development before, so anything regarding game models or Photoshop work, anything to do with the Unreal Engine, anything to do with View, which is rendering. I've used them all. Max, it hasn't crashed, trust me. It does take a long time to load these files in now. So yesterday we were working on pardon me. We were working on creating these flowering ivy vines. We are going to finish that off today. So we created some on this front piece just here, the front border. We did some on this angel statue here in the corner, and some on the side wall here, on the top of the banister railing, and then partially up this angel statue here. And I want to create one more growing ivy, I think, on this corner piece here. So I think we'll get stuck into doing that. I want to point out to you guys that were watching me before I went on break, I did actually fix up that corner where the hey Galen, you're not done modelling but you've started on the procedural textures? Okay, let me have a look. Let's check it out.
We're floating in the dark. Take my hand and we'll combine.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. That red is really nice. And you've got the silver going, the grey silver going through here. Oh, and these airfoils here are silver. That's really, I like that a lot. That's really good. That bit just through here. It all looks good. It looks great, but I particularly like that. And you've done textured up the fins here in the back. Very nice. Yeah, really nice. That shader is really nice. The metallic shader. Looks great. Can't wait to see the rest of it textured up. It's coming together really nicely. Really nicely. Good stuff. Very nice. Yeah, I cut that corner section back. It was, if you remember, it was sticking out slightly into here, and I said at the time, oh, it's in the corner here, so people aren't going to notice it'll see it, but me being OCD that I am, I decided that I wanted to fix that up, and I did that on both sides of the model here, so both corners now finish at the actual statue as they should. The vents and the blades are procedural, entroscopic, and the engine body is a mix of entroscopic and diffuse. Very nice. It does, it looks really good. And what are you using to texture that in, Galen? Is that being done in Blender? The Cal's 2 glossy and 1 diffuse, no group with Frenzel. Okay, yep. 2 glossy, 1 diffuse, yep. I'm assuming, like I said, you're using Blender to create your textures, yeah? Yep, Blender, cool. Really nice, it's looking really good. It's always nice to see these models start to come together, and particularly once the textures go on and they really start to come to life. I mean, it looks great when you do just an occlusion render, but you really can't see it until it's textured up, and that's when it really starts to shine. And it does, it looks really good. Nice work. Let's do what we did yesterday and select the parts of the model that I want to grow the ivy on. I'm going to grab that top piece too, just in case it grows a bit higher than I expect. I really want it to grow on this corner here, so I'm really only worrying about the tiled ground here, that corner column and the back wall, and maybe these 2 side supports as well. And I must remember now to make sure I grab my cloud. After you put the glossy on the cowl, you saw some lumps in the reflections, so you have to go back and rework it a bit. Yeah, anything glossy will show up anything like that that you won't necessarily see in the viewport. Once you start putting gloss texture on anything, any underlying bumps will show up. And generally that's true when people are doing painting, like in Mari or in Substance Painter. They'll throw a gloss map on or a gloss texture on the model to get a better look at exactly what the geometry is looking like before they start texturing it up. That it really helps to show up any areas that you may have missed. So a gloss map is always good for that. Let's isolate our selection here. So again, like I said, I want to grow it on this corner, so I really only need the tiles, the columns and those supports, as well as the back wall. And again, this plugin that I'm using is a free plugin you can download from GuruWare called Grow Ivy. So I'm sure if you search on Google for GWIVY, it'll come up usually at the very top. Yeah, so you can I think it's only for Macs though, I have to find out. 3D Studio Mac. He does all versions from 2010 I think up to 2017. So. You were using a high gloss matte cap during the modelling but missed some things. Yeah, well that's easy to miss spots. I noticed in this model I was working on I had a piece of geometry that was floating to the side that I completely missed after all the weeks I've been working on it. So yeah, it's easy to miss things. But like I said, throwing a gloss map on anything will really help to show up any problems you might have on your model. And that's generally why a lot of people, when they do start texturing their models up, the first thing they'll do is throw a gloss map down to make sure that that everything's looking right, even if they're not intending to use a gloss on the texture or the object that they're painting up. Okay, let's move this to where I want it. I think I want it on the inner corner. We'll pull it down, that's a bit high. And again, you want to take it down as low as you can without it actually going through the floor like that. You don't want it through the floor, you want it just above the floor. And in against the object or near the object that you want to grow the ivy on. And again, I'm not putting it in the middle here, I'm putting it off center so it looks more natural when it grows. You don't want it to look too placed, if you know what I mean. So always try to vary the position of your grow point. Don't put it right in the middle of whatever you're planning on growing it on. Pull out a bit here. Now we're going to go into our Modify tab once we've placed our grow object and we have it selected here. And I'm going to expand the leaf meshes and textures. I want to set materials to 6 because I have a bark material, 3 materials for the flower buds, and then I want 2 for the leaves of the actual ivy itself, so that's 6. So I'm putting 6 here into the materials slot. And under leaf meshes, this is where you choose any geometry you want to grow on the plant. So I'm going to choose the bud as the first one. Looks like it didn't pick up my selection there, hang on. Okay. So again, let's try that again. I'm going to select the bud as the first one. The open flower is the second one. And the partially open flower is the third one there. Now this is where you set the percentage that you want the flowers to be on the vine itself. So I know from creating them yesterday that I really don't want more than maybe 2% for the buds here. And the open flower, I think I'll do 10%. And the partially open flower, probably, I think I'll do 5% on that. With maybe 25% on the other 2 variations of the leaves. You have to enter it 3 times because you have a main branch, an old branch and a young branch, and you can vary these up, they don't have to be exactly the same. Hey Sniper Echo, how's things? Good to see you. We're just going to finish up this last vine here on the corner. Now again, I want to knock it back from 8 threads down to 4 because I don't want to crash OBS while I'm working. You can leave it at whatever the amount of threads on your machine is, it'll just speed up the grow process for you. I also know that I want to increase my leaf size here slightly to 5.5. From 3.15 to 3.55. And I might up the density to 0.45. Okay, let's just double check we've got everything right. So threads, the grow size, the percentages, and our meshes, that all looks good. This seed value will just alter the shape as it grows. If you don't change the seed, it will always grow into the same We'll always take the same path and grow into the same shape. If you want something different, change that seed value there. Now let's grow our ivy and see what we get. Now I forgot to check whether this mesh was turned inside out like the others have been. I'll look at that in just a minute. No, it hasn't turned inside out. We had this problem with the textures again, but we'll fix that up in just a sec. No, it's growing on the outside, so it should be fine. I actually think I want a bit here on this interior, but before I do that, I'm going to jump back into my material editor here and fix up these textures. That was the first ivy that we grew. That was the second ivy that we grew. And now, oh, there we go. And it popped into view there. It just took it a minute to recognize the textures were already available for it, which is good. It saves us a bit of time. Let's exit isolation mode here and have a look at this. I'm going to go full screen on my main viewport. What's going on? There we go. Had my eyedropper selected still from when I was in my material editor there. Alright, just going to pull back a bit here and have a look at the model. Let's see now. Okay, so we have our ivy here, here, and here. Growing through here. I actually like it actually on the tile down the bottom here. It helps to tie all these pieces of ivy together a bit more. I don't actually think we need any more ivy, to be honest. I think that's probably enough ivy for this model. I do want to change the textures on these back pieces. The leaf textures from that light green to this darker colour green here. Just checking it out to see if it needs anything more. I just wait a couple of seconds so that Max's occlusion kicks in. It just gives me a better view of the leaves and the way it's going to look. It's an iterative render in Max's viewport under realistic. It gradually renders in the occlusion for it. And you'll notice when I start moving the model around, that'll disappear and it'll be back to the normal flat shade viewport. It just takes Max a couple of seconds to render that occlusion in. But I think I wonder if I should grow any down here on the tile itself. Not sure. I mean, there's plenty of opportunity for these flowering vines. I could grow them up the columns here, but I'm not going to do that. I could grow them along the railings, the fencing through here, but I don't think I'll do that either. Just because this ivy will be quite high polygon, and that's not a problem if you're doing a rendering. I will do some polygon reduction probably on them anyway, just to reduce them back a bit. Like I said, if you're doing renders only and you're not worrying about game models, that's not usually a problem. And polygon counts are pretty immaterial when you're doing render work. It's only if you're doing game modeling that you've really got to watch your poly counts a bit. And I am going to keep these spines separate so that anyone that wants to buy or use the model can remove them. They don't have to have them on the model itself. The same thing with the statues. I'll keep those separate as well so they can be removed if somebody doesn't want them in the in their render. So like I was saying, you could grow ivy up the columns, you could grow it around the base here, you could even grow it partially up here on the dome, which could look interesting, but I'm not going to do that. I think we'll stick to just having the ivy on this side and on this side here. And I've done that so that the model looks balanced. You don't want to really sort of grow ivy just on one side. You could, and you know, in nature that could happen. Generally it probably wouldn't. So I've tried to balance it between the two sides of the model here. It's obviously slightly higher and thicker on this side because I've gone up the wall higher. And again, I could do that on this side as well. I don't think it needs it though. I think that'll be enough. And particularly once we change the texture here to a red from this lavender purple colour for the flowers. I think it'd probably be enough. So let's do this. I'm going to select my ivy here. Now I've already turned that into a poly. I'll turn that into a poly. And that one into a poly. Once you turn it into an editable poly, you can't change the shape or regrow it. This one I haven't, it's still an ivy object, so I'm going to turn that one now into a poly. And you have to do that if you want to export the mesh, because you can't export it from the grow ivy. And I'm going to turn this one into a poly. And again, I'm always recommending you work with editable poly, not edit mesh. Okay. Couple more to do. So you do this edit poly conversion at the very end once you're happy with the way that it looks and it's grown in your model. Because like I said, you can't go back once you've done it. You'd have to regrow it again by adding a new grow ivy node. Okay, so we have all of our meshes turned to, all of our ivy turned to polygons, editable polygons. I'm just going to save this file out before I start playing around with the textures. And what I'm probably going to end up doing is I'll open up the texture map. Lieva? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. I'm terrible. Ask any of the guys, I always get it wrong. Hi Vlad, how are you? This is a garden terrace. I haven't you may have been in chat before, but this is the garden terrace I've been working on during the stream for the last few weeks. Just finishing up growing some ivy on it at the moment. I'm just saving the file out just in case Max decides to crash. And then I'm going to change the colour of the flowers that's growing on the ivy to probably a red. I think that'd stand out more on the model. Because it's getting a bit lost in the textures that are on the model at the moment.
Got the light and it's shining through.
Okay, so we've saved that out. So yeah, like I was saying, I think I'll take the you came here by accident looking at your website. Oh, okay. Thank you, lad. I appreciate that. I'm glad you like the models on the website. I'm glad people actually are following me from my website to my Twitch channel. I stream every day on. I stream Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday on Twitch at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time in the US. So every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday at 5, I'm on Twitch, working on the models that I put online. So any of the stuff you see on my Creative Market store or Cornucopia 3D store or at Cineptech Media store, I'm generally going to be working on while I'm on stream here live. It just gives people a chance to ask me any questions if they're not sure about anything, or they want me to look at any of their work, or they just want to pop in and say hello while I'm working. But thanks for that. It's good to hear that people are finding me through my website. So yeah, I think what we'll do is we'll take the texture that we're using for these purple flowers here into 3D Studio Max, and we'll convert them to a red. Into Photoshop rather, and we'll convert them into a red colour. So let's, now that we've saved our file out here, just checking, I don't think, yeah. Now that we've saved our file out, we'll open up Photoshop and change those colours, I think. Anyone that's watching too that wants a reminder about when I am going live on my Twitch channel, you can follow me on my Twitter page at PhilDoes3D. I always post 15 minutes before I'm about to go live on my Twitter page, but I keep a regular schedule, so I'm always online at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm just going to move a couple of my dialogues around here because I can't see my chat at the moment. There we go. Just in case anyone says something in chat, I wouldn't have been able to see it. I'm just going to open up that texture that we're using for the for those flowers. And I know we'll keep the green stem as the same. I'll keep the stamen as that yellow, but I do want to change the closed bud and the flower texture itself. So that's the purple that we're using at the moment, the pinky purple, and that's the bud. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a copy of that layer, so I have my original underneath. Let's try doing an adjustment of a color balance on this and see what it's like. There are a couple of ways you can do a color balance. Doing it through, this is just for people maybe interested in Photoshop and aren't expert at using Photoshop and want to know what I'm doing. You can do it through the image here, or you can also do it by throwing an adjustment on top of it in your stack here, but doing it this way is probably easier. An easier way to work. Generally you only do a color adjustment by putting it in the stack if you want to copy that adjustment to multiple images, but I'm only working on one here, so doing it this way is fine. Let's pull up the red a bit. I'm going to pull up the yellow. Go to shadows. Now, I may not be able to get it to a red colour this way. I may have to do it another way. There are a couple of different ways we can achieve the same result. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it right here. So what I'll do is let's make another duplicate. And let's try doing a hue saturation change. I don't want to burn it out too much by throwing in too much saturation, but I do want it bright enough. And generally with flower petals, you'll notice that they're quite vibrant colour generally anyway. They're a bit more on the vibrant side than the flatter coloured side. Let's work with that at the moment. And let's do this. I'm going to erase this middle piece. Actually, let's try working with some. Sometimes you can get really interesting effects by changing your layer styles. So I always like to start with that to see what I'll get. It's a really good way to work because you can get some really interesting textures. I do this a lot in Mari when I'm doing texture painting as well, by working with different layer styles, because you'd be surprised at some of the effects you can create just by changing your layer style. I like that bright red. I'm just worried it may be a bit too overpowering. Let's try it, but I do want to remove the yellow and green here. It's the wrong colour. So I'm going to, I'll use my eraser brush here. I'm going to remove some of the colour from the top of this. I've got a really large brush and it's feathered quite a bit. So this is basically the this is the inside of that flower bud, and as it opens up, the outer leaves are this darker red colour. Because we're working in Photoshop, we can jump back and forwards between Max and Photoshop to view it and see what it's going to look like and change it. Another thing you can do is to play with the opacity here to pull some of the colour out of it. Let's try this. Let's see what this is going to look like. I think I'll save this as a target file, because generally I work in Targa until I'm ready to, if I'm doing rendering, I'll leave it in Targa. If I take it into Eon View, then I'll probably change it into JPEG, just because it's a bit, the flower size is a bit, the file size is a bit smaller. I saw the word flower there and got confused. So I'm just making sure I'm in the right spot here. Garden Terrace. I think this original flower file probably was a JPEG. Yeah, it was. But I'll convert it to a target here. I'm just going to call it flower 2. 24-bit is fine. There is no alpha information. Alright. Let's just open up a material editor here. I'm just not sure which one of these two textures it's using here for these different models, but we'll change both anyway. Terrace. the one we want there. Whoa. You see what I mean by being a little bit too vibrant, I think. Hey Leithness, how are you? How's the character model coming? Last time I saw you were creating that female character that you're going to take into game. Yeah, this red is way too red. I think what we'll do is we'll knock out some of the red a bit. Looking at the stem here, I don't mind the yellow so much, but I do want to knock out some of the red. But you see what I mean by the red showing up a lot better than the purple did against the rest of the textures here that we're using the model. But let's just pull that back a bit. And I'm going to play with my opacity a bit more here to try and pull it out a little bit more. Just let me check that I've added you. I think you're a regular in my Nightbot, so I'll double check before you post, Leithness, just so you don't get banned by Nightbot. Yeah, no, you're good to post. You should be fine. Post away. Yeah, do post a link. I'd like to check it out and show it on stream. Yeah, let's save this out again as our target file. Flower 2. Cool, let's have a look. And this is the concept.